Hey guys, Tarian here. Today I just want to make a quick little video, kind of like a follow-up to a video I made a couple months back about my Ret-Reckoning gear and like itemization and stuff. My gear's changed a lot since then. I've got a lot of upgrades from Blackwing Lair and PvP gear and CG and things like that. So I just want to talk about the build that I have, and then the build that I think is optimal for Phase 4 Ret-Reckoning, and then I might talk about what would be good going into Phase 5, but I'll mostly talk about the current patch. So this is my current setup. I got Crown of Destruction, Master Dragon Slayer Medallion, Highlanders, Plate Spalders. I'm wearing the 3-piece Warrior set for the Arathi Basin Exalted PvP gear. The Cloak of Honor Guard, AB Exalted, the ZG Paladin Cloak, Wrist Guards of True Flight, Flame Guard Gauntlets, Leg Guards of the Fallen Crusader, Circuit of Applied Force, Don Julio's Band, and then Hand of Justice and Blackhand's Wrath, of course, with Sulphurous, with Weapon Chain. I used to run Crusader, but I decided that it's better for me to just run Weapon Chain until I have the gold and the materials to get Stronghold Gauntlets, and then I'll put Crusader back on this. So this is my current build. I mostly use this for Battlegrounds. For World PvP, I usually will do something more stam-oriented, like I'll use like Dragon's Blood Cape. I might break the 3-piece to get like Therazane's Link, and then the Judgment's Sabatons. This is more like a stam build. With my Battleground build, I'm usually at around like 4.7 HP, or 4.7k HP, and with this I'm at about 5k. But I'll show you how much crit I'm rocking with this setup right there. About 24% crit with about 4.7k health. It's pretty good. I want to talk about some of these pieces. Circular of Applied Force, I have the ZG ring, but I think Circular of Applied Force is better just because the crit. It's basically like 1% crit and then a bunch of attack power. This one has more stam, obviously more attack power. I might use it if I was like trying to squeeze out as much stam as possible, but generally speaking, I think this ring is better. I think the Warrior AB set is better for Ret-Reckoning because it has more stamina and offensive melee stats. I don't think you really need the intellect from it. For PvE, I use the 3-piece Paladin set, but for PvP, I think the Warrior set is better. Okay, so Cloak. This Cloak is really good. You could replace it with the BWO cloaks. Let me find them. Blackwing Lair, Cloak of Firemaw. You could replace it with this. The other cloak, this one you could as well, but there's not a lot of stamina on this one, but it has really good stats aside from that. So this is a good option if you already have it. I think Cloak of the Honor Guard might be slightly better, but if you have a Cloak of Firemaw, you're in a good place. And then Dragon's Blood Cape is really good for against casters because it's got all the resistances, and then it's got just a lot of stamina, so that's really good. I want the biggest item I want from Blackwing Lair right now is Helm of Endless Rage. I'd really like to have this over Crown of Destruction. It's like almost double the armor. It's got way more stamina. It's got a lot of attack power, and it's like got slightly less crit, but it's still like the other stats kind of make it worth. So I'd really like this. Drake Talon Pauldrons, I think, are probably, I mean, they're probably still better than the AB shoulders, but it's very negligible. I mean, it's like almost 100 more armor, and then the dodge is nice. Although the AB shoulders do actually have more stamina, which is pretty nice. Obviously, chromatic boots are really good as well. They're definitely better than the AB boots. I think the best setup would be like Drake Talon Pauldrons, chromatic boots, and Therazane's Link or Onslaught Girdle. It depends. Therazane's Link has more stamina, but Onslaught Girdle has better stats, so it's up to you what you want to run. But I think this is a really the 3-piece AB is really accessible for a lot of paladins because you don't need to raid to get it. You can just do Arathi Basin. Paladins actually get a lot of gear from PvP. Like PvP Exalted and like ranking and stuff, Paladins get a lot of gear from. So I'm gonna talk about the bracers. So I'm rocking Wrist Guards of True Flight. They have really good stats. It's basically almost 1% crit. It's got a lot of stamina. It's got some int. It's got 1% hit. The reason I'm running this over Berserker Bracers is because I'm running the neck from the Nefarian head turn-in over the Onyxia head turn-in. And the reason for this being is that for Ret-Reckoning, I just like having a lot of stamina, obviously, and the agility is nice, and defense is nice too because it gives you more parry. So this is more of like this is to make you a lot tankier. And I mean, 24 stamina is a lot, right? But usually generally speaking, I usually run these two. But if I'm trying to run like full offensive stats, like if I'm in a group where I like really trust my healers, like in like Warsong Gulch or something, I would run Berserker Bracers with the Onyxia Newth pendant to keep myself at the right amount of hit, but get a lot of offensive stats. But you see, I lose about 200 HP. So it's up to you what you want to do. I also have the Judgment Bindings. This has so much stamina on it. I think if I get Onslaught Girdle, what I want to run against casters is maybe like, or maybe not even just Onslaught Girdle, just another piece of hit. I want to run Judgment Bindings in my stam set because look at how much stam it has. 21 stam plus the stam enchant. That's 300 health on these bracers. That's a lot. I've even messed around with it too, just running 4% hit versus Clothies because they're not really dodging your stuff. It's a little riskier, but it's not bad. Especially if you're stacking like that much stamina, it's really insane. Regards to the Fallen Crusader, they're BIS for sure for Ret-Reckoning. The only thing that I would say is better is if you were to get the rank 12 legs, and let's see, right? Like if you're rank 12, right? The boots aren't really that good for Ret-Reckoning because it's all like spell power stats. But I don't want to go too in depth about the PvP gear just yet, but I will eventually. But if you're running the two-piece of the gloves and the legs, those two right there, that would be better than like go to the Fallen Crusader, because you would be getting a lot more stam. You'd be like getting slightly less offensive stats, but you would have more stamina because of the two-piece set bonus. What else? The ZG chest is really good for PvP. It has more stam than the Field Marshal chest and the T2 chest. And 1% crit is nice. It's a really good chest. I'm not sure if it's BIS. I'm a little torn between this and the Field Marshal chest. Because the Field Marshal chest does have more armor. And it has like more strength and has more intellect, obviously. And the spell power and MP5 are nice too. And you can use the set bonus as well. So I think if I had access to this gear right now, I might still use it, but it would depend. It would honestly depend. What else? Oh yeah, so my rings. Don Julio's obviously is really good. Circular of Applied Force is really good. I would like to replace Circular of Applied Force with the ring from Nefarian, the Reckoning ring. Where is it? The Ring of Reckoning. It's pretty funny that this is a best ring for Ret-Reckoning when it has it in the name. So I would like to use this over Circle of Applied Force. I would run this with Don Julio's probably. It'd give me a lot of stamina. That would basically almost like give me... It's basically like 3 times more stamina than Circular of Applied Force. It still has agility, which is nice, but you're losing a decent amount of attack power. It sucks, but if you're going for a stam heavy build, then it's pretty good. Weapon-wise, alright, so I'm going to talk about weapons. So, as far as Ash Candy versus Handarag versus GM Claymore, for Ret-Reckoning, I think Sulphurus is still better than Ash Candy, just because of the top-end damage and the weapon speed. Ash Candy is really good for PvE, I know, and it has lots of stamina, which is nice, but Handarag's top-end is just so high, which is really good for Ret-Reckoning, and the fact that it's 0.2 seconds slower is really good for your Seal of Command proc per minute rate. So I personally, I mean, if I have Ash Candy, I probably wouldn't I wouldn't bother making a Handarag. But if I had a Handarag, I would not use the Ash Candy, at least for PvP. As Ret-Reckoning, and nothing too about Handarag is that if you're playing a Seal of Righteousness build, so like for example Holy Reckoning or something, this is definitely going to be better than Ash Candy, and I would argue even better than GM Claymore because obviously it has really high top end, but the proc goes really well with Seal of Righteousness. If you're wreck bombing with Seal of Righteousness and Handarag, you can actually get like multiple fireball procs within one wreck bomb, and it does a lot of damage. Because the fireball proc does almost as much damage as your Judgment of Command. It's pretty good. So I want to talk about the GM Claymore now. So Grand Marshal Claymore, so much stam, lots of strength, and 1% crit. It's 1.1 seconds slower than Hand-to-Rag, although it does have lower top end than Hand-to-Rag. I would personally, for PvP, still use GM Claymore over Hand-to-Rag. I started ranking a couple weeks ago, and so I'm going to be going for 14 and trying to get this sword because I do think it is better than Hand-to-Rag, although I don't think it's better than Hand-to-Rag in the sense that you should sacrifice your life to get it if you just like enjoying PvP. If you're like trying to be a super sweaty tryhard min-maxer in PvP like me, then I would suggest it, yeah, because 41 stamina is insane for Ret-Reckoning. That's like 300 health more than Sulphurous. And then the 1% crit is obviously really nice because you want more crit, and the strength is really good too. So yeah, I would definitely use this for Ret-Reckoning. I would say the order goes Grand Marshal Claymore is the best, then Hand-to-Rag, then Ash Candy. That would be in my opinion, the order for weapons for Ret-Reckoning. So I'm going to talk about the PvP gear for a little bit. So the 2-piece PvP set is really good, the 20 stamina, and then the 3-piece is insane for dueling because you've got the 10-second cooldown reduction on Hammer of Justice. So as Ret-Reckoning, these are my talents, by the way: None and Holy, 25 in Protection, and then 26 in Retribution. Because you go down this far into Prot, you're getting the improved Hammer of Justice. So with the 3-piece rank 13 bonus, your Hodge is on a 35-second cooldown, which is insanely good for like control and just CCing people. So the 3-piece is really good, especially for dueling. What I would recommend you run if you have this is the gloves and probably the helm. Whoops, that's not the helm. The gloves and the helm. I think, though, honestly, I think if you have Helm of Endless Rage, you should be running that over the helm, and I think you should run the gloves with either the chest or the legs. I personally think I would do the chest, the gloves and chest, and then I would probably, if you want the 3-piece, you could throw in the legs or the helm. It depends on what you have. It's hard. Legguards of the Fallen Crusader just have so much good stats on them, but the problem is so does Helm of Endless Rage. So for if you have Legguards of the Fallen Crusader and Helm of Endless Rage, I would definitely recommend do gloves and chest for the 2-piece, and you can decide on what you want for the 3-piece. It's up to you, honestly. I still don't know what I would do, but I don't think I'd run the 3-piece for Battlegrounds. I think I would really only run it for like dueling and things like that. For Battlegrounds, I think I would definitely, in World PvP, I definitely just run the 2-piece. I definitely now is ranking worth in general for Ret-Reckoning? Yes, obviously, because the GM Claymore is really good, and then the rank 13 gear is really good. Although I will say the shoulders and the boots don't really do you any good as Ret-Reckoning. They're more for like spell power builds or like control ret and things like that. Just builds your spell power and mana are like more important, which for Ret-Reckoning it's not. I would say at least 12 so that you can run the gloves and legs 2-piece, and then if you are dueling, you can throw in the boots for the 3-piece just for the Hodge cooldown reduction. So I definitely think as a paladin, if you're trying to be a really good paladin PvPer, you should at least get 12. If you have like Hand-to-Rag and an Ash Candy or something like that, you should try to at least get 12, and it's not that hard, trust me. Getting rank 12 is not that hard. After that, though, it can be pretty tricky. So what else is there? I would probably still use this helmet over Crown of Destruction. You're getting about the same amount of attack power, and you're losing 1% crit, but the stam is just insane. They're pretty comparable, though, I would say. Pretty comparable. Crown of Destruction has slightly more stamina. It depends on how much you value armor. I don't mind armor too much because I already have a lot of it. I don't mind wearing a couple pieces of mail. So that's that for the PvP gear, right? Oh yeah, I want to talk about another thing. The next best weapon, I think, behind Ash Candy for Ret-Reckoning is actually the Unstoppable Force. I think this weapon is actually really good for Ret-Reckoning. Honestly, I think this weapon is better than all the two-handers in Molten Core for Ret-Reckoning because it's so slow. The stats are really good. The only downside is that the stun does DR Hodge, which kind of sucks. But just the stats, the 2% crit, and then the stam and the strength, it's really, really, really nice. I would honestly use this weapon over like OEB, or honestly probably even over BRE. Honestly, I think BRE is actually a very overrated weapon for Paladin. It's so fast, the stamina is nice and the crit is nice, but you don't really get much benefit from the proc. Although the proc would be nice for wreck bombs, you usually won't get as much benefit out of it than a warrior. And it's also just so fast, right? I would never use Spinal Reaper in a million years as a paladin, and then Earthshaker is pretty good. Honestly, I would say Earthshaker is like one of the best two-handers out of Molten Core. This weapon's really underrated. The proc is really good, and then the speed is really good, and the top end's not bad. But generally speaking, I would use the AV Mace over any of the Molten Core weapons. Now, I want to talk about the Blackwing Lair weapons, because I see a lot of paladins with these weapons, like Draconic Maul and Draconic Avenger and things like that. Draconic Avenger is not that good. The parry is actually kind of sick, but it's way too fast, and it's an axe. I don't know. I wouldn't really recommend this weapon. Draconic Maul is actually really good. I would recommend this weapon. The speed is nice, the stats are nice, and it's got 2% crit. It's like a slightly better version of Unstoppable Force. I would say they're about the same. This one's a little faster, but it's got better stats, and it doesn't have that proc that could DR Hodge, so it's honestly up to you which you would prefer. If I'm like super min-maxing, I think I might pick this one still, but they're pretty close. What else is there? Oh yeah, there's Drake Talon Cleaver, this one right here. This one's actually not bad. You get a lot of benefit from that proc. The stats are okay, but it is a little fast. That is the other downside. And then the last one I want to talk about is Herald of Woe. This one's okay. The stats are really good. It's got lots of int, lots of stam, lots of strength. It is a little fast, but the top end is actually pretty good. So it's not a bad weapon at all, for sure. And then obviously Ash Candy is insanely good. So lastly, I'm going to talk about ZG weapons. There's not a lot of gear in ZG for Ret-Reckoning. Zenrock is obviously really good. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of forgot about Zenrock. I think I would use Zenrock over Unstoppable Force. Way slower, has way more stamina, has lots of attack power, and the top end is higher. So, sorry, my bad. I think the weapon progression would go, I completely forgot this is a weapon, would go GM Claymore, then Sulfurous, then Ash Candy, then Zenrock, and then Unstoppable Force. This one's right here, Jellic's Crusher. This one's pretty good. The proc is nice, it's pretty slow, decent top end. Where is it? Halberd of Smiting. This one's pretty good too. It has like one of the highest procs in the game, like highest damaging procs in the game. The top end is kind of low though, and the speed's like, okay, it's not that bad, but the rest of the weapons in here aren't really that good. Can't use staves. There's that axe that I'm trying to find, that hunter axe. Yeah, this one's not that good either. Maybe if you're like Holy Reckoning or something, this one would be okay, but I really don't know. Generally speaking, weapons with on-hit effects, like Jellic's Crusher, like Sulfurous or something, go really well with Holy Reckoning because you're using Seal of Wretches, and obviously that means you're having a much higher chance to proc things. I'm trying to think what else is there. Oh yeah, I'll talk about the Tier 2 real quick, because I know a lot of paladins use Tier 2. Tier 2 isn't really that good for Ret-Reckoning because it's more of a sustain set. It's more about stamina and intellect and armor and spell power. I would say it's really good for like traditional Ret specs, but for Ret-Reckoning, I wouldn't really suggest it. Ret-Reckoning itemization is basically just warrior, like you're just wearing warrior gear basically, with a little bit of intellect thrown in there, but not that much, because you really aren't using that much intellect. Your stat priorities are stamina, and then crit, and then strength and agility and things like that. And then armor as well. Spell power and things like that are pretty low. Although I will say MP5 is actually really nice for Reckoning because obviously you don't have a lot of mana, so just getting that passive regen is really nice. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I didn't touch on. Oh, yeah, I'll talk about Tier 1 real quick. Tier 1's okay. The only pieces that I would say are really worth it for Ret-Reckoning are the braces are pretty decent. They're more for like sustained and like long fights and things like that. They have lots of armor, and then Stam's nice, and MP5 is nice. The chest has lots of stamina on it if you don't have a high stam chest. And then the shoulders, I would say, are really the only piece that's like really good for Ret-Reckoning, because it just has so much raw stamina on it. It's insane. Let's see. Anything else I want to talk about? I think that's everything. There's not really anything from the world bosses that you could get outside of maybe like the cape from Azure Ghosts. I'm trying to think. No, nothing really. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about as far as Ret-Reckoning itemization goes. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. I made my own Discord for like Paladin theory crafting and things like that, and just general discussion and PvP and things like that. I'll link it in the description below, but if you guys would like to join there and talk about Paladin PvP, specifically Ret-Reckoning, but we can talk about whatever spec you guys want. I'm always super down. Just feel free to join and let me know, and we'll talk about some stuff. I want to give a shout out to Drakova. He really helped me with a lot of the itemization and stuff on what I want to build right now, and then what I want to build in the future. And he's just been like a mentor to me when it comes to Paladin PvP, and so I want to give a big shout out to him. But I think that's everything, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you later.